BeefHouse.com.
Top 5 Heisman candidates. I'll get number 5 out of the way right now so you guys can roll your eyes and call me a homer. But number 5, Jordan Travis. Right now, he's the leader of the number 4 team in the country. They're 8-0. He's been fantastic. I don't think he's going to win this award. I don't think that he can put up enough numbers, but he is certainly a candidate. And they're on a tear right now, going back to last year where they scored 30 points in, I believe, 16 consecutive games or 17 consecutive games, dating back to last season. And that's because of him. And if Florida State is truly resurgent and this isn't just a 2-year hitch, then they should build a statue of Jordan Travis because it is very much on his shoulders.
Yeah, this list is just going to make me realize just how not interesting the Heisman race has been in so many ways because so much of the focus has been on the actual teams and the games and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, he's as good of a candidate as any. He's had a really good year. As you mentioned, they're right there up at the top of the polls, and he's a big part, if not the biggest, sole reason as to why. So got a good team around him. Obviously got a great wide receiver he gets to throw to that makes him look really, really good a lot of the time. But, no, he's had a good year, and it's been a fun ride for the Seminoles.
A statue? Like RG3 over at McLean Stadium statue?
Well, I mean, look, they don't have statues of the Heisman Trophy winners, but
Oklahoma does that, and they've got a bunch of them, so they've got a lot of statues.
But I do think that, something needs to be mentioned about Jordan Travis because he helped them out of the dark. I mean, if it was not for him, I don't know where they would be. Really, honestly, he really did. He's been that kind of a leader for the team. Number 4, Bo Nix. I'm actually starting to think that if Oregon wins out, that Bo Nix might win it because it's going to be because he's done some crazy, ridiculous things, and he's the kind of quarterback who will have those Heisman moments. But right now they have that loss, which I think is holding him back. And then, they've had a couple games where he hadn't really had to do much in the second half. But as we get down the stretch here, especially when he starts playing, he's got to play Caleb Williams still, which is the defending Heisman Trophy winner. He can wind up playing Michael Penix again, who, spoiler alerts, also on this list somewhere. But Bo Nix, I really do, even though, statistically he's kind of, he's towards the top, but he's not, all the way at the top like some of the other guys. I just think that Oregon's going to have some big wins and some moments that might wind him up in New York.
I mean, like I said, I don't think there's any great superstar.
Yeah.
There's no Caleb Williams here, so everybody's kind of on the same footing. And I think that a lot will just come down to this final month and who wins some of these games. He's in the Pac-12 championship game, and they're sitting there raising the trophy and going to the playoff, and it's not Michael Penix in Washington. Then a good chance Bo Nix is probably winning the Heisman Trophy, or good possibility that he could be. J.J. McCarthy, there's nothing flashy about him. I know we'll get to the rest of the list, but anybody on this list has a chance at this point because I don't think there's anybody who's solidified themselves as they have to be in New York. I think there's a bunch of guys that have arguments to be, but I don't think there's these 4 have to be there. You know?
Like I said, I don't have any idea right now. If I had to vote today, I don't know how I'd do it.
But Bo's had a great year, and they've been a really good team, and just the one blemish. But besides that, absolutely, he should be in the conversation right now.
Number 3, Ollie Gordon.
Somebody just put that up in
Wild card.
Did not see this one coming. He's the one who, there's always one that comes out of nowhere, but if you keep running for 200 yards in every game you play, you go to New York. That's just how it goes. And he's been the spark that has turned Oklahoma State's season around. He is dominating. It's not just running the ball. He's making big plays in the passing game too. And he is, he's not their whole offense, but he's most of it right now. And he's putting up Barry Sanders type numbers at Oklahoma State. And Barry Sanders won the what trophy, guys? That's right, the Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he's most of their offense at this stage. Alan Bowman throws it around a little bit, but they don't have any star receivers that have to get the football. Or they've leaned on the run game heavy, and he's made huge plays for them. And how about this? He leads the country in rushing. Do you guys realize that?
Yeah, I did. I said it yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you realize that his first 3 games that he had 44 yards, 53 yards, and 12 yards, and just 2 touchdowns? So his first 3 weeks of the season, he had Let's see here, 109 yards and 2 touchdowns through 3 weeks. And then ever since then, 121, 136, 168, 282, 271. He's got 8 touchdowns in that time. So, yeah, he's not even – this hasn't been all year long is what I'm saying. That's the point.
It's been
like
a 5-year
it's all
stretch,
been 5
week
weeks.
stretch. Yep.
And so to be leading the country with 5 weeks of play really is absurd and just goes to show you just what a monster tear he's on right now. And, yeah, they're cooking, man, and he's a big reason why.
Not comparing him to Barry Sanders,
And
but
the
the
O-line.
numbers and what he's doing has been comparable to a stretch that is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And the O-line deserves a lot of credit, too. Always got to say that as well, yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, Michael Penix. He's been fantastic at Washington. I would have put him at number 1, but the last couple of weeks since the Oregon win, that they played a little fast and loose and had some scares. But it doesn't change my mind about Michael Penix, who I'm sure soon to be dispatched Indiana coach Tom Allen is like, damn it.
Dude, I remember going and looking at stats back in like the last couple of years and seeing this Penix guy, and I'd seen some Indiana, but just seeing him, and I was like, he's always near the top of these lists, but like they're not very good. They had moments, but and then he's gone to Washington, and it's just like that was exactly what he needed to just skyrocket.
All right. They haven't been as good, but he threw for 369 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now against ASU, they scored 15 points. He was shut out basically.
Yeah.
No touchdown passes in that game.
And I think, look, everyone. I can point to 2 games RG3's year that if you had stopped it
Oklahoma
then,
State A&M.
yeah, you would have been like, well, and look, that Kansas game that year wasn't any great shakes either, but he helped bring them back.
Yeah, but he had an explosive run.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but not everybody's gonna, not every year,
Well,
everybody's
if
gonna
it's
have.
going to be wins and losses, then Ollie Gordon wouldn't be on this list.
Well, I mean, he was-
And
yeah,
hopefully
also
if they
in
run the
the-
table, that he'll legitimately have an opportunity.
South Alabama game, he only had 3 or 4 carries, something
Yeah.
like that. So
To Paul's point, I mean, like a couple weeks ago after the Oregon game, you would have crowned him the Heisman Trophy winner, probably, right?
Yeah.
And he certainly would have a spot at the table. I think he still does, but I don't think it's like an iron grip. To your point, I do think that it's going to come down to these last 3 weeks or last month, I should say, and plus 5 weeks with the championship weekend. Is he involved in that, or is it Bo Nix, or whatever? But yeah, he's definitely right there at the top of the conversation.
and look, they might be sitting next to each other in New York too.
Absolutely.
So there's more than a couple guys that get to go. And number 1. From the number 1 team in the country right now, the reason, in my opinion, the X factor as to why they're number 1 is Marvin Harrison Jr. Because the difference between Notre Dame and Penn State and Ohio State is Marvin Harrison Jr. They have a playmaker that no one else has. He's going to be a top 4 pick, if not a top 3 pick, depending on how it falls. The Bears are going to have 2 of those picks. I think he's going to wind up with the Bears, he and whatever quarterback that they have if things keep on this track. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is the X factor that has got Ohio State to this point where people are talking about how nice of wins they have compared to, oh man, Ohio State's still another year away because they lost to Penn State and Notre Dame because their offense is not what it had been. Their offense is still a work in progress, but it's not much of a work in progress because this guy exists.
Yeah, he's amazing, and I think that the conversation around wide receivers is a little bit different than it is around the quarterbacks. And I know we saw Devontae Smith, help break that here recently as far as a wide receiver winning the Heisman Trophy. But yeah, he's really good. The crazy thing is that Washington has 2 guys that have numbers that are comparable, like right there with him. They have 2 alone that are like Marvin Harrison level numbers wise. So that's what kind of toys Michael Penix has to play with and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, he's like you said, a big reason why the Buckeyes are where they are. They don't have the first round, type of or future NFL quarterback necessarily like right there at the disposal, ready to rip and, go on into the draft next year like they've had a good run of here recently. So it's been a little bit more of a work in progress, but to be able to have a guy like that is an absolute luxury when you're trying to figure out what you're going to be offensively. And he's helped them along in that process in a major way. He's just a freak show of an athlete and a football player that we're going to be talking about for many years to come.
Up until Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winners who played wide receiver were also dynamic return men. Mm-hmm. Tim Brown, Desmond Howard, and Johnny Rodgers. All of them had major moments in either kick and or punt returns in their career that allowed them to beat that otherwise it's always a running back or a quarterback. So he doesn't do that, but neither did Devontae Smith. And so maybe that broke the stranglehold if you had to be a dynamic return man too and not just a wide receiver.
Yeah, maybe he's just